Cheers, guys. I hope that all of you are doing really well. I have a cold, so I hope that you forgive the way that I sound. I know it must be very stuffed up. Today, I want to make a video and I want to talk to you about the scapegoat child and the ramifications of being that child if you recognize yourself in any of this for when you grow up and you're trying to forge relationships with other grown-ups. So, the scapegoat child usually grows up in a family with a toxic dynamic. And by toxic dynamic, I mean that instead of prioritizing the child, like normally a parent would, the parent is prioritizing themselves and often parentifying the child. Usually, in these kinds of families, there's a golden child and then there's also a scapegoat child. And the parents that are at the head of this family don't have an integrated shadow. They haven't accepted their darker qualities, their darker side. They're operating from the ego, and as the ego wants to portray itself as perfect at every moment in time, the ego then takes all the negative qualities that it has about itself and it projects them onto other people, and then it attacks these qualities in other people. So it's kind of a typical case of I see in you that which exists in me, even if it doesn't exist in you. Now, to make matters worse, in a lot of these families, it's not just that there's a golden child and then there's a scapegoat child. Sometimes the same child to one parent can be a golden child, but to another parent can be a scapegoat child. And the child keeps receiving this kind of mixed message. One parent tells them that you are inherently bad. You have to always try to avoid conflict with me because I have emotional instability, I have rage issues, I'm very easily triggered. I have chosen you as the one that's going to be triggering me so that I can pour all of my negativity onto you. And then you have the other parent who says, I don't see it that way. To me, you're perfect. But both parents are saying you can't show up authentically. Both parents are saying I cannot handle a real reflection of the wounds that I am carrying and who I am. Therefore, I am demanding from you to be somebody fake, whether it's to not trigger my rage or to avoid my shame. Because if you present to the world a face that I consider perfect and I can put you on a pedestal and then I can build my pedestal upon your pedestal among other things, then you are doing a great job not being honestly yourself, wearing a mask, things like that. So the child basically learns that there is something inherently wrong with them. And proof, the strongest proof to the fact that there is something inherently wrong with them is that they and their parents are not seeing eye to eye. That sometimes they have wishes that don't coincide with the wishes of the parent. They have wants, they have opinions, they have needs that differ from those of the parent. And while on surface the parent says that this is allowed, in reality it's not. In reality it is very punished. So the child lives in this kind of gaslit chamber. What is happening on the surface is they're being told they're disciplined, they're taken care of, they're loved, they're looked out for. But what's actually happening is sometimes they aren't loved and they aren't properly looked out for. And this isn't discipline. This is actually a form of emotional abuse, if not physical abuse, what they're going through. But they have nothing to compare to. They don't have a baseline. All they have to do is trust their parents' word as a baseline that they're going off of. So they teach themselves that this is what love looks like. This is what discipline looks like. This is what somebody caring for you looks like. And then they try to go into these relationships when they're older. It costs them a lot to enter a relationship because inherently, even though they're not accepting it openly in their mind, what a relationship means is the loss of authenticity, because another person means somebody who will need to be protected from their own shame, somebody who will need to be protected from their own shadow, somebody who will see you for the terrible, unworthy object that you know that you actually are, because it's been explained to you that you are this terrible, unworthy object regardless of what you did when you were growing up. And so they try to maintain the peace in the relationship by avoiding conflict, by not presenting an alternative view, an alternative opinion, by not disagreeing with anything, by not expressing their needs authentically and trying to anticipate the other person's needs and the other person's opinion but the other person often doesn't do the same. The other person often has a more authentic relational style. They feel free to show up as themselves, they feel free to express themselves. And so the child who used to be the scapegoat, or the combination of the scapegoat and the golden child, becomes resentful over time. It's not their love language. Their love language is suppressing what they truly want, as proof for the fact that they love the other person and are putting their needs first, and what they expect from their partner is the same thing. If you love me, then you're also going to be suppressing your needs, suppressing your authenticity, not expressing yourself, holding yourself back, and thereby you will show me that I matter to you and that you truly love me. And when another person doesn't do that, they start resenting that person. But the partner in the relationship doesn't understand that there is a problem, or what the problem is. They're just being themselves. There is no conflict. Why is the other person in the dynamic becoming resentful? And then after building this dynamic, the person that becomes resentful and gives up on the relationship and becomes resentful and wants to emotionally check out of the relationship usually develops what we classify as a fearful, avoidant relational style, where they feel like in order to not feel bad about themselves, but to also be able to be authentic, they must stay away from other people, because it is so hard to break out of this gaslit chamber in which they've been raised, where they had it explained to them that the most basic humans' wants and needs and desires and differences in opinion are things that make them unworthy, are things that can be used as proof that they're not a good person, that there's something inherently flawed with them. And it often takes the ability to be vulnerable with someone in order to finally realize that. All right, guys, like I said, I have a cold. I really need to go and drink a cup of tea to make my throat better. Lots of love to you all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.